Hi, team. So just to set us up, these next 12 episodes that we're going to release, the 12 days of Christmas, are all about how we're setting ourselves up for 2025. It's obviously a new year coming. We're obviously getting time to chill out. We're trying to keep all these episodes to below 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and really give us all something to think about on different layers, different approaches, and how we can set ourselves up well. And if you like these, even after this episode, this first episode that sets you up to go, well, actually, I'm up for a challenge, then I would really like it if you went to www.identityhuman.com and signed up for our free challenge, which is going to start on the 2nd of January. Okay, and that is to help you even further with a first step into the new year. So we're giving you 1 day to recover on the 1st and do your own thing. And then on the 2nd, you come in, you be part of the group, you do a 5-day challenge, and it really sets you up well. And if anyone's interested after that, you can go into the Unshakable course, which we'll talk about as we go. Right, enjoy the episode. Good afternoon. No, actually, hello. How's everyone doing? Welcome back to the Identity Human podcast with
Ray
and Don.
We are so excited to have you join us for our 12 days of Christmas.
I'm trying my best to be excited. I am currently on my whoop says on a -1% recovery. And it's got a skull with the cracked head
does
on
it?
Yeah, it says good luck for today. But I think the whole theme of this is we're going to keep going through no matter how we feel and just have the integrity that go behind it. So yeah, today, let's just set the scene for the
12 days of Christmas. But
exactly.
I suppose this will be episode 1.
Yeah.
But we won't necessarily have the episodes down in the order that we record them.
No, what are we trying to achieve for the listeners? I know we've touched on it before, but someone's just now started to listen to this. What are we trying to achieve?
Well, the idea of the 12 days of Christmas was to take a moment in time where everyone is they've slowed down from the year, they're gearing up towards the next year, and to give you, the listeners, a 10-15 minute just food for thought to really get you set up in the best possible way for 2025. Now, I know that's so cliche because everyone's like, new year, everyone gets amped for all the possibilities of what they can do in the new year. But it's a cliche for a reason. It's like a new start. And so it's a great time. Birthdays and New Year are both great times to take a moment to sit and reflect on where you've come and where you want to go. And we're hoping over these 12 days to give you some kind of frameworks to work through that thought process.
Okay. So
do you agree? Anything to add?
No. Well, yes, I like it. I just know we're not trying to make them too long.
Yes.
So I would say the only thing I was going to add to that is if you're listening to this and going oh, I'm not going to be one of those people that start something new on New Year's and everything. I think what Ray said is quite important is you have to have some times that mark reflection and action. And if you can't do it in any other day, do it at New Year's. But the difference this one is going to be how you're going to keep going so that it's not restarting the same ones that you've tried to restart for the last 4 years and not being able to follow through. So therefore you're going to go, I'm not really thinking about doing it on because I know I'm just going to stick to it. Like this one's going to be different. So that's what we're trying to say.
Hopefully we can challenge and inspire you. And I'm excited about today's topic about how to operate from your higher self.
Okay, yes.
I think this was the first topic, Don, that you and I delved into together on a personal development note, that we sat down and did something together on let's further ourselves. We did it with Regan Hillier on those Regan Hillier videos. And those were all guided visuals on embodying your higher self. Do you remember us doing that earlier in the year? So I feel like this was we've done personal development and working on ourselves over the years, but it was the first time we really came together and said, let's do this. I remember that.
Nice.
And that's why I thought it was a great one for us to start on.
Okay, so let's go define higher self from your point of view, and then I'll do it from my point of view.
I feel like you're going to give a better definition.
Oh, don't do that. There's no better, or it's just different. That's the whole point of view.
Or maybe you have a deeper understanding, or you've, I suppose, always inspired me. You've always been particularly incredible at raising me to my higher self, to continually pointing me towards my higher self. And so a lot of that's come from you.
Oh, yeah. What do you want?
So, but for me, your higher self is, we often spoke about whether that higher self should be perfect or not, but that higher self is that version of you in the future that you want to be, that version that you're aiming for, so that you're not always focusing on doing stuff now in the moment for the goal that you want to achieve for 2025. So actually, we're starting off by saying in 2025, now as you sit at the end of 24, to set your 2025 goals, don't actually focus on 2025. Focus way beyond that on who you want to be in the future. And to me, that's your higher self.
Yeah, interesting. So I've got a slightly different take on it, but
Okay.
it ties it in. Is that higher self is something that's within you already.
Okay.
So yes, by defining it long in the future, you're starting to go like, oh, that's what it looks like. That's who I'm going to be. That allows the timeline so that you can be kinder to yourself when you're not being that in the present. But I think that the higher self is something that like you can tap into right now and go, how am I supposed to be acting? And you can go, okay, no, this isn't my higher self. The higher self is that voice in your head that goes, we are better than this. We can do this. Come on, we can go. So you have to start. And I think the point is you have to start to listen to that voice. Because if you listen to that voice, it's going to tell you the answers that you want and that you need to know. And by defining the future self, which is what you were saying, you're then tying it in so that it's clear. So that when that voice sings in your head going like, come on, we can be better than this. It's like, well, what does that mean? It's like, okay, well, this is what we've talked about going forward. Because that higher self is something that's in us. And there's a couple of books I've read and they go, that's that thing that like kicks in when everything's going to pot around you. And it's like, you can step up and bang, you already know the answer. You know what to do. We've got to bring that out in us and know that it's within us already. Do you know what I mean?
If it's within us, and maybe this moves on to our next point, but if it's within us, why are we not all leaning into it more? Why, I mean, it's there. How come everyone's not already attuned with their higher self?
So I think you might have a good answer for this, but it's along the lines of logical brain
Okay.
overriding everything else. And
yes,
an environment too. So if you think about self-limiting beliefs, which I think we're going to touch on, those self-limiting beliefs sing loudly in our head because at our core, humans want to belong, right? So if we want to belong, we're going to listen to what those around us that we've loved, respected, seen value in, whatever form that looks like, we take on what they say because like, I want to fit in. Like we're a troop animal. Happiness is nothing unless it's shared. All those things come in. So we take those things to our core and neglect what we say within ourselves.
Interesting. And I also think, going back to your point on the brain, I forget the exact terminology, but it's like the society that, or where humanity has got to in the day and age we live in, is that we actually all, I want to say, worship, or we look to our brains for the answer. Like when a decision needs to be made, we think we must logic this out. We must use our brains, and there's an over-reliance on our brain rather than our gut and our intuition. And it's like both should be there. And like there's an interesting like they've proven in neuroscience about the number of data points that like a brain pulls from to make a decision versus, I don't know how they do this, but versus gut and intuition.
Throw this one out there.
But like it's just like the brain pulls on like 500 like
I think you said 50
references.
Million. 50 million data points is what you said.
But then the gut does like 50 million. It's like exponentially more. And I think it's because of the way your body, because if you've experienced, and this ties into limiting beliefs, if you've experienced trauma, and not trauma because that you'd probably remember, but if you've experienced something in the past, like someone burnt you like in a bat, like emotionally or something, you may have forgotten that memory, but your body hasn't. Yeah. So when you are meeting a potential date, or you meet a new friend, or you're interviewing someone, and your body has like a resistant sort of reaction, like this weird, like this doesn't feel right. It might be because your body's recognizing some similar characteristics in that person that your brain hasn't computed. And I suppose that's where your higher self, it's realizing that you are not just your brain. It's like there's this whole self.
Oh, did you know your brain and your stomach were the same cell when you were an embryo in your body? And that's why you can take on that stuff. There's a connection. So there's a connection from birth. I mean, obviously,
I didn't know that.
Didn't you?
No.
All right. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
No,
and that's why it's called the third brain. So your heart brain.
What's the second? I was going to. What's the second one?
Well, in men and women, it's different, isn't it?
So did we want to touch on why limiting beliefs, like anything more around limiting beliefs?
So limiting beliefs, I think it's important.
Maybe someone's never heard the term.
Yeah, and I think it's important to just recognize how often they're around us, but we don't consider them limiting beliefs. We think they are sound advice.
And they like cloud your brain.
Not even cloud. I think take over to a point. Okay, I think we've given this example before, but when I first started the Samson Arm, the leadership business, I used to come home and say, I can't run a successful business and have a young family.
These are A and B. This is something we're going to touch on.
And you were like, why not? And I was like, well, because, well, I don't know, because of time. And you were like, well, that's just an excuse. It's just a limiting belief. And it's because I'd heard someone else say that. And
you'd taken it on
and
to
I'd
be
taken
true.
it on because I didn't know any better, right? But actually, by you challenging that, it's like, well, that was that person's experience, and they put that limiting belief onto me. And then because I didn't even try and define business. Like, what type of business would you? Yes, maybe if I was being a CEO of a global company, so your time zones are all different, and you need to be on different meetings all the time. That's probably a reasonable reality. But for what I was doing, it's so far from it that I should never have taken on, but I did. So limiting beliefs are the things that people give to you because of their experiences. They think that,
and you may not even know that you're carrying it as a limiting belief. Like me saying, and I know you always challenge me on this, is like my body's always going to look a certain way because I've had 4 kids.
Yeah.
Or
that's an annoying too, because I'm like speaking from no experience.
Another one where it was always like I want a nice house and go on nice holidays, and you've been like, no, you must choose one or the other. I'm like, no, we don't need that. Yeah.
So and that's what you've always been really good at.
Is not
breaking those ones. Like, yes. I think it's because even your patterns as a kid, from what I've heard from your mom and stuff like that, it's always like when she said do something, you do the opposite. So it almost serves you really well to have that within you. Because when someone says you won't be able to run a business like that, you'll go, watch me.
Yeah, definitely.
Who. And I think those limiting beliefs are also, you've got to recognize the ones you've been given from when you were a kid and never had the opportunity to challenge. Because essentially how gaslighting works. Gaslighting is when someone tells you a lie and then you believe it.
Yes.
So listen to this. Every single truth someone else tells you is their truth. And because it's their truth, they're very good at convincing you to make it your truth.
Because they believe it.
Because they've experienced it, they've tried a certain way, and it didn't work out for them. What they completely neglect is how different everyone is, and how you could try the same thing as me, and we would get different results if we never talked about how to go through it together.
And it's kind of like, the visual that came to mind now is that I'm sure most people have heard that story of like, you get those elephants, I think it's in India or something, but elephants, and they get them, and when they're quite small, they put a chain around their foot, and they train them and like really beat them and like make them believe that they are trapped. So as these elephants grow huge, they have this tiny chain or rope still around their foot, and they could break it without any effort, but they've always just believe that is how it's done. They've tried to escape it before, and they've just come to believe that they cannot escape that rope or that chain. And they don't even know that it's that they are creating their own limitation. So where in your life are you that elephant that's trapped? And that's your higher self trapped by saying that it shouldn't be trapped by.
And that's one example of an external force trapping you into something.
Yes.
So there could be a bit of fear and trauma there. How about this one? Sorry.
Yeah.
They took fleas.
So yes.
Have you heard this one?
Yeah, but explain it in case
Okay, so
they
took fleas, and fleas can obviously jump 10 times their height. And they put them in this jar. So this jar maybe limits them to maybe less than half of what they could jump. And they let these fleas jump and jump and jump. Those fleas had 1 generation, 2 generations. So those fleas that were born into the jar fleas only ever knew that certain height of jumping. And when they released them, those fleas that were born in the jar could only jump as high as the jar.
That's crazy.
And so there wasn't even a fear or trauma there. It was like generational passed down. That's just how we do things around there. They didn't know they could be more.
And breaking generational beliefs can be some of the biggest.
Yes, because, and this is where it is like we love and respect parents and grandparents, but they may not even be aware what they've inherited. So like when you go, I believe you can do more, they go, that's nonsense because we tried that. Or that's nonsense. This is how we've always done it. Right. And that right there, you like maybe 6 generations ago, there's still a belief that's carried through that's limiting people from doing things. So we just that's where like wake up, question things, be curious, curious about things, and think for yourself, and just try and just go, well, why can't I do this?
Okay, so my question to you is, what is the benefit of breaking these limiting beliefs and really trying to live to your higher self? How can people benefit?
So it's a good question, because you do get some people that go, well, what's wrong with what I've got now?
Yeah.
It goes, nothing. But what about if on the other side of what you've got is something 10 times better? And because you never try, you never get it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So, like, you could be happy but miserable, but because you're happy, you go, I like this balance. But there could be a life where there's no misery. But because you're not willing to try, you go, oh, well, this balance is good. I'm going to keep with this balance that I've got. Why else? I think, okay, I mean, if you want me to get really deep and esoteric, as in future, way beyond ourselves, is consider the work that you do now benefiting someone 3 generations time from you. So they'll never know you. Might hear stories of you. Really unrealistically, it's not going to be about you or your name, but a belief or a characteristic that you fight to find out, and a talent that you fight, or something that you put in place by action and by value and by morals, is going to affect your offspring, which will affect their offspring. And if it's strong enough, is going to go further down. So why should we? And if you're hedonistic, so hedonistic is, I was live here, born here, die here, just a piece of meat, doesn't matter.
Yes.
We don't, like, if everyone took that on, we would just break, you just have no moral code, wouldn't you? Because it's like, oh, it doesn't matter, because when I die, it doesn't matter. And it's logically that makes sense, because when I die, people forget me. But actually, everything's got to be about, how am I going to do something today that's going to benefit someone in the future?
And you'll almost certainly see benefits in your own lifetime.
Well, yes, I think what I'm trying to tap into is people will go above and beyond doing things if it's for someone else, if it's for something that's greater than their own good.
Yes.
Whereas if I said, just do it for you, some people can do that naturally, and we can build you up for that. But it's quite a block, because it's like some people struggle to be selfish. So if you're not willing to do it for you, do it for someone else. And that someone else is someone you haven't met yet. And there's beauty in that, because you're not going to get the recognition. It's not about ego. It's literally about how far can you go in this life to raise up someone else the next one. And like you said, if you do that, you're going to discover beauties, joys, flow, life experiences, memories that you never would have thought existed before you tried it. And I think that's
the
exciting bit just on its own.
Awesome. Okay, so at the end of each of these 12 days of Christmas, we want to set you a little bit of a challenge or a little bit of homework, to kind of, like we said, to encourage you to think outside of the box you may be currently in. And so today's homework is, did you want to explain it?
You can do something like this. So in the homework today is, write down a limited belief that goes, I am not ... So I'm not good at, I can't do ...
Yes.
So anything that comes to mind.
Weight.
I can't lose weight. This is just how I will be. I'm getting old, therefore.
I can't have A and B.
Yes, I can't have A and B. It's A or B.
Yes.
Kind of thinking. Anything that comes to mind there, write that down, and then go and take a small action that can break that in a little way. Because if you can prove it in a little way, you can add on to that.
So you can add that. If you can't prove it yourself, start to just be curious and look for examples in other people's lives, or just any sort of example that shows that that is possible. What you believe you can't do, someone else is achieving, because all you have to do is put that little crack of doubt in your brain, in your logic, to begin to see that that belief that you so hold true and dear actually doesn't have to exist as the ultimate unchangeable belief. So looking for the evidence and like reasons of why that possibly isn't true.
Yeah.
So just, and then so it's just about being curious, and then really seeing if you can practice believing a far more sort of expansive option compared to the limiting belief that you currently hold.
Yeah. Awesome. And then leave a comment in the episode if you do.
Yeah, we would love to hear what limiting belief you are working on, or what you found. And if you've got a limiting belief and say, I cannot find any evidence of this not being true, reach out to Don or myself, and I'm sure we can find an example.
We'll take you to task.
We'll take you on. We'll take on your belief.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. So we're going to sign this off the same way that we always do, just because they're short episodes. I'll work on me for you if you work on you for me. Ubuntu, we are who we are for others. All right. We'll see you next episode.